Thanks for listening to the Kojima Frequency. If you're enjoying the show and want to help support it, make sure to check us out on Patreon at patreon.com/KojimaFreak. Yeah, you just don't make 3 of anything. That's kind of the lesson here.
Whoa, hold on now. Let's not be hasty.
Now that Konami has the REX engine, folks are like, Rex?
You mean Capcom?
Or Capcom? Oh yeah, Capcom. Sorry. Konami's just been like fucking molding my brain this week.
I've got these notes.
Yeah.
I've got my notes.
Cool. We have notes.
Oh, I got notes.
Yeah. Hey, I'm Fingers.
Yo, it's Apache Smash.
Hey everyone, this is Days Ahead.
And I'm Nitroid. You're listening to the Kojima Frequency.
The Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 1 dropped last week, and it's been kind of disappointing. There's some good, there's some bad, there's some ugly, but people are gonna have different opinions here. But I think we're all here we're gonna touch on it and say how we feel about it. So, Nitro, do you want to kick things off here, or Apache? Or Days. I don't know. Who wants to throw down first?
I got tinnitus from Metal Gear Solid 2's sound mixing and sequencing. So you're going to get that invoice for my doctor's bill, Konami. But thank you for the code.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate all the codes from Konami actually did help us out. Besides Apache, he didn't want one, but we did get some codes. To be transparent, we do have to say that for FTC stuff.
If you want to meld around my words so I don't start off with shit like that, I totally get it. I can't even I'm in a weird place because like I'm talking shit right now, but I'm also like literally getting through the caves on MGS1 on my PC while we're talking.
Yeah.
So it's a case of where like I'm happy the experience is there. It's sort of a surreal place, but I'm also there's so much that needs to be done. So much that needs to be done.
Yeah, like I've got my PS3 back in my bedroom now, nice and safe, and now I've got just a version of all these games on my PS5, and I've got the Steam Deck now too, so I can play those versions. Like I don't know. I'm in a good place with Metal Gear right now, and I just hope it keeps getting better.
It must be nice.
It's the first week. We've got hopefully patches on the way. That's kind of where I'm looking at it. I'm like, let's consider the play date here. We gotta go Mega 64 rules here.
I am excited for patches. I really hope that we can get Konami. Konami can put effort into making those fixes.
Mm-hmm.
My thing about that is from a preservation perspective. Is I can't expect them to make things perfect. I can't expect them to make things completely perfect. But I was hoping that the game would be in a better state in a sense that if there was a scenario where someone could not update all of their copies or the hard copy that they have, or God forbid something happened to Steam, which that's, a whole nother argument in itself. We have a decent version of these games available, for modern audiences. And it just sucks to think about that from a preservation perspective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like if I want to sample any of the sounds from MGS1 and get like for like a beat or something, it's like, well, that reverb engine is fucked up. So the sounds aren't coming out right. So you're not going to get the actual sound. I'm going to have to switch over to the emulator for that one. I mean, there's a lot of audio issues. To me, it seems like there's like a big playback issue across all the games right now, where it's like the samples are tucked in there, but just the way that they're coming through the reverb engine and being processed, it's just not coming out right. Like the settings are different. I mean, we've seen people record the Master Collection versus emulation, and it's louder, it's more compressed, the dynamic range is lost. So like there was mastering errors and mixing errors. There's stuff that we can clearly see. And that's one thing that we're kind of just have been working on, is compiling a big ass list of these things and trying to bring them forward, because I think we all want the best versions of these games to come out. That would be cool if we had ultimate versions on PC, but right now PC besides Switch is struggling the most. So
I know I'm trying to center my thoughts here because there's a lot to talk about.
Everybody's Ben Affleck smoking.
Do y'all feel that? It's Nitroid.
The second reason I'm not going to be like, a super negative or like try to put a crusade against this game is because I just, I've played about 6 hours of it. I haven't had half of that was in MGS1, half of that was in MGS2, and I can't like you articulated that sound shit very well. And all I can say is, from a very layman's experience, like I felt like I got tinnitus. So,
but the high pitch sounds for sure. Yeah, if high pitch sounds are coming through like without the reverb or whatever they need, and there's certain like even music cues that were coming through, almost like the Resident Evil 1 basement shit, where it's just like, oh, the default MIDI sound is coming through, or the the default synth sound is hitting instead of the sample or the sound font that was supposed to be, because Metal Gear's music is run through a sequencer. It's not just like playing tracks from a CD. It's being sequenced live. So if those settings aren't right, then yeah, it's going to just sound wrong in certain things, especially if the sound effects are also tied to that engine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it makes sense. And hopefully if they had it right before, there should be a way to hit some switches and make stuff back again. That's what we're seeing. If the people that are going into the code and stuff, like, there are all these options that are either turned on by default or just, we don't have the access to those options unless you're doing hex editing or whatever. So I'm hopeful that these things get fixed and they just haven't gotten around to them yet. And my big thought with this whole project and this collection is it's 7 games across 5 platforms. And that's a huge scope for a project, just to make sure that everything's okay. Like me personally, I wish like Switch would have been out of the equation. And it just, maybe that would have not had them so widespread, on how to put these things together. And maybe PC would have gotten a little more attention. But as we've said on the live streams and a lot of previous things, like it does seem like the PC port was the afterthought here. And that's heartbreaking. Luckily, the mod scenes are coming to the rescue. Like, that's awesome. But like, we want the official versions to be there. Because I don't want to fuck with hex stuff. I don't really want to mess with all this. I kind of want to... I want it to fix itself here as I'm kind of waiting for the slow rollout.
There's been a lot to digest here.
Yeah.
I've been talking to a lot of people, trying to get a feel for what everybody's experiencing, double checking things, triple checking things. There is so much here, and a lot of people are having very different experiences with this. So I've been just sort of trying to get a bird's eye view of sort of what the predominant problems with the collection are. So here's sort of what's frustrating about this. In the lead up to and in the immediate aftermath of this release, which I know it's still pretty early, but all of the conversation regarding concerns over this collection were how did you put it, Apache, earlier? Imaginary talking points?
Yeah, there's been a lot of imaginary talking points, which makes it difficult to talk about the actual problems with the game because it gets drowned out in a sea of like nonsense.
Exactly. Talk about, 4K, 120 frames per second, ultra wide support, which is hilarious to think about. Certain high level enhancements to the older game, like if you're getting a PS1 game, you shouldn't be surprised that to some extent it looks like a PS1 game.
What was that meme? It was like buys PS1 game, opens box, it's PS1 game or some shit like that.
Yeah. That was by Punchy. That was so funny.
When the actual issues, as it's becoming more apparent as everybody sort of digs into this a little bit more deeply, are a bit more fundamental. The audio is an obvious one. I mean, there are myriad issues with the audio. I think the best way to summarize them is sort of like MGS1 has reverb issues, MGS2 has sample issues, and MGS3 has volume issues.
That's well put, actually. Yeah, that's kind of the main issues that there's a little bit of those things happening throughout in each one, but that's the main concern of each game.
Yeah. The UI launcher that they have has its own issues as well, where it doesn't really window very well. I know that some of this is already being patched and fixed, but this is basic quality of life stuff we're talking about, where you can't resize a window or get out of full screen if you need to. It's very bare bones in a lot of ways.
And that's like it being locked to 720 right now on PC makes me go, well, they advertised 1080p for the PC release. Like that's something that's going to be, coming. It's just they didn't implement that switch into the code for that. You know what I mean? It's like I don't think it's going to be 720 throughout.
Well,
there's already people
we'll see.
doing the 1080p workaround, and that version's working like fine, right? Like comparative to the 4K.
Okay, well, I'm going to echo some things that a friend of mine has said. I hope he doesn't mind, because he made a really good point. We were talking about sort of these concerns about, MGS3 audio, resolution, things like that. And he sort of made the point that, like, it took them 8 days to release a hot fix for the speed issue. 8 days.
Yeah.
And, it is very common with releases. The more time elapses after a release, the less incentive there is to fix anything. So the most critical time to get these issues fixed is immediately at launch, because the likelihood that they'll get addressed continues to just decrease towards zero, right?
Yeah.
Once the sales drop off, the incentive's gone. As far as I can tell, they're not really openly acknowledging some of these issues, other than just patching them. There hasn't really been any statement, no communication. They need to be talking to people.
Well, I think we're working on it.
We're trying. I was gonna say it's all still set in stone. I don't want to make any promises to folks, but
they need to make a statement, honestly, about some of these things, because it's okay. Yeah, I don't want to go full negative, because there are things I like about this, but there are basic quality of life and compatibility issues with this collection that need to be acknowledged and addressed very quickly. It should not be the responsibility of fans to fix just basic functionality. We can get into the conversation of, should this be like 1080p, should they support higher resolutions, etc. Again, it's sort of like that. Those aren't the issues. If the audio is broken, that's an issue. If I can't move a window around my screen, that's an issue. If I have no idea how to use keyboard and mouse controls because you didn't provide a tutorial or any sort of a mapping for them, that's an issue.
Those are in the options in the launcher before you actually start the game.
So they do have that? Okay. Because I was under the impression that there was like very, very cursory, like, yeah.
The keyboard controls are fucking weird. It's like HU, like, it's weird.
They're worthless. And I said this before the game came out when people were complaining about it. It's like, this is not a game designed to be played on mouse and keyboard. We have tried in the past to make usable keyboard layout for the games. Some people have played MGS2 on PC with some success, but it'll always be worse than controller. And so, like, if you want mouse and keyboard, just fucking wait for Delta. Like, this is not a game that's playable on mouse and keyboard. No matter how you change the options, no matter how they set it up, like, they're like, oh, the sensitivity is really bad on the mouse, and it's true, it is. But even if you change it, it's still dog shit. Like, there's no.
That's fair.
And there are some controllers that do have an input that relays pretty much just basic mouse or basic keyboard commands, like this Azeron Cyborg thing I've got. Like, it's basically just sending letters, or macros of those letters. But so like, if it doesn't support that, then I can't use that controller because that's the way it sends its status. It's not like a Xbox controller,
Yeah.
Which is what I said on the show is, like, when they were like, oh, there's no keyboard and mouse support, it's like, it should support taking inputs from a keyboard and mouse, for accessibility issues, which is what it does, and which I wanted it to do. But I said, long before the game came out, that it'll never be playable on a mouse and keyboard in the same way it's playable on a controller.
Mm-hmm. Just movement and aiming, just those two things, thinking about that. It's like, well, yeah, you're dealing with, that's one thing that people are kind of complaining about with MGS1 is that there's not full analog, like, with the movement, right? Is that on the PC version, I think? Or I think it's on PS5 too.
Yeah, that's another one. That's one that actually did really bug me when I became aware of it. I didn't even realize it in first. I was like, why something feels wrong, but maybe it's just me. No. Yeah, there's no true analog control in MGS1. It's 8-directional.
Remember how you had to kind of like change that on PS1, like on the controller? Like, I wonder if that's something that needs to be implemented on that.
There's probably
outer layer menu. That like says goes digital to analog. Like, if you have to switch to digital.
Oh yeah. They're interpolating the controls to 8D. Yeah, that's what.
Yeah, and that's terrible. I mean, that was fixed on the PC version, the original PC version, by one person.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, I shouldn't release in that state.
It's funny because like this is the exact same problem actually plagues another re-release of one of my favorite games, which is Final Fantasy VIII.
Mm-hmm.
That remaster annoyed the hell out of me because as far as I understand, I don't know if they have issues with the source code. I've heard gossip over the years about them losing it, but the original PS1 game had true analog controls. PC version had 8 directional, and of course the remaster has 8 directional, and it doesn't feel good, and it especially doesn't feel good in a game like Metal Gear Solid where you have to have precise controls.
Like, yeah, I literally was just dealing with it trying to get the PSG one.
Yeah.
Here's an important question that I think all the listeners would want to know the answer to. Nitroid, why is your favorite Final Fantasy Magical High School?
God, I'm not prepared to get into this right now.
I will say one good thing. Sorry, not to disrupt. But one good thing that has come out of this is it's motivated Apache to stream Final Fantasy X, which has been a blast.
He's just a humble Kiefer Sutherland steak
reviewer.
That's all he's doing, man. He's just out here just living a simple life, and you can't really ask nothing better than that. So
yeah. No, I love the art style. I love the music. It hit me at the right time in life. I think it's got a really there's a lot going on in the game that's very clever but not obvious, and the game just does not do a good job of explaining how to play it. It doesn't really set you up for success in a lot of ways, and it sort of leads you down the path of least resistance instead of showing you that there are options. So
almost like the Nintendo version of Metal Gear on the Master Collection. The keyboard controls on that had me fucking pulling my hair out.
Well, it's like, I don't want to go off topic here, but like in that game, Final Fantasy VIII is a game about options, but you don't think you have them. It's very strange.
Just like the Master Collection, it doesn't really have a lot of options in the menu for you to change it.
So to bring it back to Metal Gear,
I'm trying.
Hey, you asked, man.
I'll bring it back. It's okay. I just had to make the joke, but I'll bring it back to Metal Gear because like once I saw all these problems and issues, I thought, well, it's early. There's still chance for a patch. Figure this shit out. I'll be in Spira.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Like, it is week 1. It does seem a little early, but yeah. If you want to play some Blitzball, yeah, I'm still fucking churning through Final Fantasy 16. I think there's a NPC talking through some instructions for a side quest as we speak right now. I just left it going.
How many times do they drop an F-bomb during those instructions?
Oh, dude, it's crazy how many just like unsolicited, like inappropriate F-bombs just drop in that game. It's just like, wow, what's going on? Like that game has some of the best Dragon Ball Z ass fights between summons, and then just the rest of it is just the most boring white people talking to each other for the whole game. It just sucks. I don't know. I'm having a hard time.
Getting back to to Metal Gear and some of the issues there. One thing I'm pretty upset about. Again, I hope a lot of this is being fixed behind the scenes, and that's why there's sort of radio silence on some of this. I just hope they're really busy.
And that seems to be their MO. Like, yeah, it does seem that that's how they kind of do stuff. They don't necessarily come out with the transparency and just be like, here's what we're doing. It's just like, all right, it's fixed. Here, go.
I hope that's the case.
Yeah.
The one big positive out of this is that modding has really started to take off with this, and so far it's been a lot of fixing things that shouldn't need to be fixed. Fixed by fans and people having fun with textures, swaps, and everything. I was really happy to see, like right off the bat, somebody fixed that low res splitter camo from the HD collection. And made a high res one, and it looks great. And that's like there's a websites called Nexus Mods. That's sort of like the place to go for a lot of game mods, and there's a lot of stuff there already. Heck, I submitted one even.
Is there a launch? Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. Is there like a core launcher? Because I remember like with the Phantom Pain, there was that one kind of launcher where you could kind of have everything together. You know what I'm saying? Like
Not yet.
Is there a community effort to get one of those going so we can have sort of this ultimate version where you can just click on and off stuff like?
Not that I've seen. At least not in the main community hubs for modding this collection. And I've been keeping my ear to the ground.
It'll probably get there though. Like I hate to just assume that work's going to be done, but that's one of those things that kind of seems to happen organically over time. Where it's just like, all right, here you go. This is it's fixed.
Well, yeah, I mean, and that's where you sort of get into some of these early mods for adding resolution fixes, like cranking MGS 2 and 3 up to 1080p is mostly okay. It breaks the UI a little bit in MGS 2, and once you start going over that, then visuals start to get messed up.
So do you think once they fix that on their end that it will be a clean 1080p, or will those UI issues still persist?
Well, some of it comes from the HD edition. Some of this stuff is not.
Yeah, that's a big point here.
Yeah, some of this was not introduced by the Master Collection, and that's where things are getting kind of tricky. Because it's not immediately clear to people when something is sort of the fault of, when I don't want to say
the sins of the father. Yeah.
Well, I don't want to say the fault of, because it's tricky. Like, okay, I'll give you an example, and this is one that I've seen a few people bring up. But
for HD Collection, I feel like it's more of the sins of your drunk uncle.
Kind of, yeah. I can't imagine Bluepoint messing up the visuals of a game. Shocking. Yeah. No, okay, so one example that I think is pretty easy to understand about. Okay, so we've talked about this before, about how when you upscale these games, certain effects break because they sort of dealt with, when they were made, they're dealing with very small resolution stuff. They're trying to pull off a lot of visual tricks they couldn't do. So you get a lot of these like bespoke sort of fixes, right?
Yeah.
So here's an example of one. During scenes where you've got rain, they've got droplets on the screen that are reflective of the scene, and they show the color, like the droplets match the color of the scene they're in. It's a really nice effect. They shimmer, they reflect. It's cool looking.
Yeah, that post that Kitty Rar made, that was kind of highlighting that with the boss, how her face was kind of showing up in the raindrops now a lot clearer than it probably was happening in the base version of the game, and now when you blow it up, it's like, oh damn, there's a face there.
Well, the reason for that is because they use this old trick called screen space reflection, where they basically use what's being rendered on the screen and sort of like a texture almost. This is a very bad explanation for this, but when it's tiny and it's on like a PS2 screen at PS2 resolution, you can't see these details. So it's a very clever trick. Yeah, and you're not going to see a reflection of the whole screen. But then when you blow that up, sure enough, now every raindrop looks like the boss's face, plastered all over, and it's ridiculous looking. And that's not really a bug. That is a side effect of taking an effect that was made for an old system at a low resolution and increasing it. And those kind of things are all throughout the game. And so some of the things that like Bluepoint tried to fix in the HD collection, they didn't quite catch it all, because it's hard. Like I get the impression that they sort of like tried to make a generic fix for a lot of stuff and then just missed some things. So some of that is just the consequence of what this is, an up-resed version of a very old game.
Yeah. Didn't they kind of fix that, the bloom aspect with that one scene with the end where it shows the background behind him? Like, isn't that fixed on this version but wasn't on the HD version?
Yeah, and you can fix some of this stuff. It's just it takes a lot of time to do, because you have to go in and do them sort of one by one, and that's if you catch them.
And that's what's so funny, just hearing people be like, nah, I'm good, I'm gonna go play the HD edition. Like that port's lazy, and it's like, bro, HD edition had 3 games on it, that was it. To call that not lazy and just like, oh, this is fine, but it's got problems that this version, it's just people don't even know what the hell they actually played, and there's a lot of Mandela effect going on. And
they're mad about Kojima still, is what the reason is. A lot of this is axe grinding.
And he's not in the credits for Master Collection, so what the fuck? That's another example of all these fucking imaginary
talking points. Yeah, like
it's like, of course he wasn't credited in the Master Collection because he didn't work on the Master Collection, but his name is plastered throughout all the original games and all the original credits of said games. Like, god damn it.
All right. Slow down, because you're talking like we understand what you're talking about, but people listening might not. So, to be clear, the Master Collection user interface, right? The menus has like a little subcredits thing that shows you who made the UI and everything, right? He's not in that for obvious reasons, because he didn't make the UI. He wasn't involved in this collection, but the games themselves still have him just as prominent as always. But of course, there are all these news reports that are like, Kojima's name removed from Master. Like, no.
The problem is, Nitroid, is your reading comprehension, because you didn't read the tweet, and they said that it's the new credits, not like the like duh, dude. Like, of course he's in the like such a non-controversy.
Right.
No, and that's this whole thing is just like
deceptive. Yeah.
Cool. Then what the fuck are we talking about here, then, guys? Like, it's so maddening to have these dumbass conversations with people all day.
If it's not a story, why are you writing about it? Why are you making it sound like it's a big deal? Because you're a bunch of hacks. That's why. You're a bunch of dishonest, manipulative hacks. God, it's so lame.
That's been a lot of the, when you said earlier, it's just like we're having these conversations that don't matter. And meanwhile, that's drowning out all these talks that like, let's get that reverb issue fixed, please. Like, let's get the stuff that needs to be addressed here, actually. And that's what a lot of the community and a lot of the big YouTubers aren't doing. They're calling this collection a scam. Meanwhile, when the fucking Silent Hill Ascension stream has happened, didn't hear a peep about that one. So it's just, I don't know.
God.
It's kind of tricky. Like, it's like, what's the angle here? Are you just anti Metal Gear at this point? I don't know.
Ascension is, my God, Silent Hill Ascension is a shallow, tone-deaf amalgamation of the absolute worst vices plaguing the medium. I am shocked that it doesn't have NFTs, but maybe that's only because it never occurred to them.
Bro, he's not only not fired, but he's doing after shows on the fucking...
Like, sorry about chat, guys.
No, I am... Holy crap.
Hideo Kojima in my...
Oh my God. Has there ever been a drop in quality between two releases in a series as dramatic as this? We went from PT to whatever the fuck I've been looking at.
We have the Silent Hill 2 remake coming, so you'll be fine.
10 years in between these releases, I still get whiplash from this. Holy crap, it's bad.
It's honestly, it makes me feel way less bad, but I still feel bad because, god damn, it's trauma. Like, what? Like, you can't. I get that people do that on the internet, quirky people on Tumblr or whatever.
Yeah, it's very Tumblr.
There's a place and a time, and it's not in a fucking battle pass for Silent Hill, man. Come on,
Silent Hill Battle Pass sounds like a meme.
So you can play little mini games so that you can get points to vote for. I love how a series that's so about, isolation and introspection and it's so funny to me. Okay, let me back up. I find it so funny that a series that's so about isolation and introspection, and where you meet only a handful of people at most in the good games, and we have this game that not only are there like a bunch of people, I can't even keep up with the characters because they're all so forgettable, but there's all these characters, and on top of that, there's this whole like community element. Like, are you gonna vote for redemption or damnation? Catch the pre-show, man, and then catch the post-show where they try to justify
what happened in chat.
Not even just what happened in chat, like the monetization model. Like, the guy was bitching about people picking the good choice, even though like it literally says redemption or damnation or whatever.
No ambiguity.
Well, at least we're not Silent Hill fans, so
I ask, like I've been asking whenever I see that kind of game, I ask this question, which is, who is this for? Who is this for? Like, because clearly there's a message that like whoever the actual Silent Hill fans are, you don't make up a large enough portion for the kind of business they want to do. There isn't enough of you, therefore get fucked. It's time to vote for circumcision or whatever.
Either way, I mean, you're gonna be in the whale community, in this, you're gonna be leading the ranks and the leaderboards.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna be #1 fucking Silent Hill Ascension player.
That's the problem. I mean, we got too many people ironically being a whale, just funding it, and they're like, "Oh shit, well, money's coming in. I guess something's working." Like,
are you mad because I'm spending all my money in Silent Hill? Get mad, poor person. I'm fucking #1 gamer.
I'm trying. Like, the entertainment for me in this game is trying to figure out how the fuck this ended up in the state that it was in, because to me it looks like some company tried to do like a pretty much a ripoff of like a Supermassive Until Dawn-esque or the Quarry-esque Man of Medan-esque choose your own adventure game, they couldn't quite figure out how to design the whole thing from A to Z. So they just kind of like, all right, let's mold it into something with a monetization model that we can fit on a mobile device. We'll make it like pre-recorded, have it streamed. Oh, let's have it ride the coattails of a Dead series. That's even better. That's gonna be great, guys. Let's publish it.
This feels more like less like riding coattails and more like, you know, in Devil May Cry 3 when you can like skateboard on top of the fucking ghouls. This feels more like that.
Yeah.
You know, I made a joke a while back about how the most tone-deaf thing you could possibly do with Silent Hill was to make a limited edition pillowcase for Silent Hill 2.
I remember you saying that.
And I'm starting to think maybe that wasn't the most tone-deaf thing you could do.
Oh, really, Nitroid? You think that's how low we can go? Trust me,
right?
We can go much lower.
They're monetizing It's Bread now, so, I mean...
Oh my god.
And they have these community QTEs that everybody does, and they fuck up because they're like janky, and the animations are awful. Like everything is supposed to be kind of for something that's supposed to, you know, it's not actually having like. It just has. I'm losing my fucking mind here. It has to have better animations than what it has. Like it just looks janky as shit.
Is this the video game equivalent of mining for hate clicks? Is that what's going on here?
It's almost like as bad as the shirt. You know what I mean? They're like, yeah, we know what we're doing. Like,
it's as bad as people imagined Metal Gear Survive to be.
I know some people who genuinely like the shirt. I don't know anyone who genuinely likes this shit.
Okay, well, enough beating up on that.
I mean, you know, and going back to like talking about mods, I mean, one of the most crucial things I think for a lot of people in the community, and they might not even realize it, was the flag in MGS2. You know, it's been upside down for a while here and backwards.
Oh God.
And our buddy Nitroid here, you know, he went in and did, you know, he did God's work and put that flag back upright. And
I was informed not long after doing that an upside down flag actually means it's a symbol for it's a sign of distress historically.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Wait, what? I've never heard of that before.
Amazing that an upside down flag means that.
Hold on.
Well, hold
if only the flag had been upside down.
Wait, you mean to tell me that a flag that's upside down is a symbol of distress, and that in the video game could actually be an artistic choice, which means that there is distress or that someone did that on purpose in the room where all the hostages are kept in Metal Gear Solid 2? No way. Shame it's backwards.
Damn.
Yep.
Shame it couldn't be hung like that physically at all, unless it was ordered specifically to have its holes for the hooks and, you know, everything on that side where the flag is. Because, oh no, Kojima thought that through though. They're like, man, what if they like fucked up and like the manufacturing side put the holes on the flag? Like, I don't know, man.
The mental gymnastics you have to do to justify this idea are hilarious because it contradicts itself. Because you're gonna say that this is intentional, and Kojima wouldn't make a mistake like that because he knows this stuff, and it's a design choice, and it's very clearly intentional. But also, it's not even upside down; it's backwards.
Yeah.
Which that you can't have both of those. Sorry.
All right. Well, then you know what you need to do, Nitroid. You need to make an upside down
mod
regular version of the mod too.
Upside down mod.
These people can say, you know, that's what was meant though. That there, not in the original, but that what you did right there is what he meant to do, and that will make their head explode saying that sentence because that's what they're asking for, and that's what they were saying was done, but it wasn't even.
I love to psychoanalyze these games, but some of these people are a little more psycho than analyze.
So yeah, if you want to download that fix, go ahead and what's your Nexus mod page, Nitroid? If you want to go ahead and plug your stuff, you go ahead with that.
It's just Nitroid. Shut up, dude.
Nitroid made a mod for Metal Gear Solid 2.
It's gonna be in my download history right beside Better Penises for Baldur's Gate 3.
There you go. You know, just to spite these people, I'm gonna fix Gorge Sears.
Oh no! Don't leave
hold
Gorge
on.
alone.
Now you're like,
I'll do it.
I'll
fucking do it,
man.
You leave Solid Sanic out of this too. Don't you fucking go around fixing typos. I feel asleep, or you know, Well, that's still in there, so that's good too. That's I kind of think about that more. It's like, like I feel asleep. That's kind of saying something else. It's a whole different sentiment. Like I feel asleep, man.
I think it was on purpose, completely.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel asleep.
I mean, he does say it after he fell asleep.
Yo.
Like he's like, I fell asleep. But he does say I feel asleep. So I get that as a guard. Just like standing there. It's like, man, I don't even feel like I'm living anymore.
Deep.
It's deep if you think about it. Metal Gear NES is deep. So that's all I'll say.
Do you know it's explained in Metal Gear Solid 1 that the 180 IQ guards are so well trained that they're taught to they're trained to sleep while standing up for short periods in order to get rest. So that's why they can patrol for 24/7.
Yeah, and they get like little like 6-second naps, dude. Like that's really like microdosing sleep. It's pretty tight.
Following footsteps around a crate ad infinitum is also an advanced searching technique.
Another advanced technique is putting in the password that gets you right to the end of Metal Gear and NES. That does still work. Me and Nitro tried that out immediately.
Don't
talk about the other password that doesn't work anymore. That's fine.
No. Yeah, there was a very crude password that seems to have been fixed.
We're seeing some of the crude stuff like being trimmed out. Like, I mean, we got Johnny back in boxers now. It's
different color boxers.
That was my Mandela effect.
Yeah.
Right. So here's why they added the boxes back, because this is one of my favorite facts about the game. They had to add the censored version to all the versions of Johnny because the blurring effect, if you go up to the blurring effect with the scope and zoom in, you can get past the blurring effect and just see his fully rendered asshole.
So you can just boundary break his ass.
Yeah, but is that really the reason for why they did it? Because you've been able to do that for ages.
Well, they also, I mean, I'd imagine it comes from the same logic as putting that disclaimer, which I really hope someone mods that too.
Already working on it.
God bless Dry Nitroid.
This game may contain scenes.
Yeah, I really want to do that, and then just have like Raiden like doing an aerial in the background. Yeah, no, the mods are pretty interesting. Some of the stuff coming out. One thing I know, sort of going back to sort of the issues with the game. This is one that didn't bother me, but I'm going to concede the point because I get the complaint that the bilinear filtering on MGS1 at native resolution, I don't mind it personally, but I'm going to concede that point because I get the complaint there now.
That should be a toggle at best.
Yeah.
But it should definitely, I didn't really like seeing it on by default. I mean, just don't throw a filter on stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. It does, like, because everybody's playing it. That just, results in people going, oh, it looks blurry. It looks worse than PS1. Fuck this collection. I'm out. Like, and it's just like, oh, that one little switch
to be
did
fair,
that. Like,
to be fair, it does look pretty much, it looks pretty darn close to what you'd see on a CRT minus the scan lines.
Yeah.
But whatever, I get the point. So modders have already gone in and toggled that off to get a clean digital feed.
It looks better. Like in my, it does look better, like not affected that way. Like I get that it might have looked better back in the day, like, in comparison to that, but just with bigger displays, I think it does look better with just that sharpness to it. It's not like the GOG version where it's like we went and sharpened it over and it's like, oh God, don't do that. But it's a little bit cleaner than what it's outputting right now. And that's, with the PS5 version, apparently I don't even know the state of things with like what's on what right now. But, we need toggles for that if we want it. Like if you want that CRT. I mean, that's the thing. There was an IGN article, I think the first day of the game, was like, hey, we know shit's fucked. We got CRT filters on the way. We got scan, like all these things coming on the way.
Is that going to be for MGS1 though? Or is that just going to be for the 2D games?
I don't know. Like, I wish they would update us. I don't know.
Yeah.
So
God, man.
We do need some more communication. I mean, that's one of the big things here where we're all kind of just guessing and people are going, fuck it, I'll fix it myself. And, that's always going to be there. It sucks that we're in this timeline where it's, you have to wait for patches to play the game proper, but that's the play date.
A lot of it is pretty stable. I know there's a large amount of people who aren't having issues. But then there are things where if you do like, okay, so I haven't had a chance to really go through the video in full yet, but Digital Foundry just put out their sort of review on it and they're pretty critical of it. Again, the big thing is the 1080p issue. And, regardless of whether or not Konami was implying that it's 1080p upscale from 720p or native 1080p, it doesn't matter. There was poor communication on that front.
Yeah.
Which again is sort of my big point here. You know, they need to talk and explain what they're doing. But yeah, it's gosh, I mean, again, you know, the silver lining to all of this, as unnecessary as it should be, as much as it should not be the case, is that fans are going to mod the heck out of these things and make the perfect versions of these games, with or without Konami. They shouldn't have to, but that will happen.
Yeah.
It's time for the speedrunner update. MGS3 is like the perfect speedrun version now, and it's something I wanted for a long time. It's a shame that it was achieved with mods. I wish it was done. Like you know, I was expecting to come on here and complain about the load trick problems, which is a speedrunner specific problem where the game it loads slightly faster the second time you play it. But it doesn't matter because Appel, who's a legend in the community, has made a patch for the game that removes loads from the in-game timer. So now everyone's versions, if you play the game, only your gameplay matters. And so everyone can compete on even ground. And it's like, in my opinion, there will now never be a better version for speedrunning than MGS3 PC.
So you could do story speedruns now, technically.
That's what I'm about to ask him for. I'm about to ask him to make it so the cutscenes and codecs don't count for the IGT, so I can play it on stream and I can still get Foxhound rank and stuff.
Oh, that's so cool.
So real quick, talking about the load trick and stuff, I mean, that was something to me. I heard you talking about it on your stream that you were doing on launch day, and before that I'd never heard about it, but basically it's kind of similar to what MGS4 is doing on emulation, where it's doing some type of shader compilation or something where it's doing like it's loading everything on the front end. And then, you know, for the emulation on MGS4, it's like once everything's loaded or you've got it configured that way, like you're good to go. But that initial playthrough is going to kind of suck because every time you get to a new chapter or whatever, it has to sit there and load.
Well, it's not.
But I know I'm saying with
it's not shaders
or whatever it is. Yeah.
You're saying like sit there and load. It doesn't. It loads incredibly fast the first time you play it. The first time you play MGS3 on your computer, it's going to load faster than any other version of MGS3 that's been out to date. But the second time, like you go into I'm trying to think of a fucking area in MGS3 that's easy to say, but then I was like, oh, wow, they're all so fucking complicated. Well, you know,
just say Groznygrad.
You go into Groznygrad, and you go into the area. You know, every time you go into the area, the name of it comes up on screen, and then you enter it, right? On the Master Collection PC version, sometimes it doesn't even have chance to say the name of the area because it loads that fast the first time you play it.
Oh wow!
But then the second time, it will load even faster, and we're talking a difference in 1.5 seconds, and then the second time it's 1 second or 0.8, and that doesn't matter to anyone because the majority of people on Earth will see it load the first time and go, "Wow, that was fucking fast." But for people, 12 of us with issues with our brain, something went wrong, and now we have to play the game every day to get the lowest time possible. That 0.5 seconds or whatever matters, and it's very frustrating that on the PlayStation 3 we used to have to play the game for 40 minutes, reset the game like fake death pill in the cell, and play the game again because it would load faster the second time. It was really annoying that it was going to do that on PC because we would have to play the entire game before we could start playing the game.
And I guess that was my point. Like, you know, you wouldn't want to do a speed run on MGS4 on emulated the first time through unless you did that pre-compile in the beginning.
It doesn't matter for MGS4. MGS4 doesn't count loads to IGT.
Okay. I'm just saying, you know, if you're just sitting there timing the whole thing, it would take longer because it's sitting there doing that computation alongside your playthrough versus it all doing at the beginning.
Do you know what it's actually caching, Apache?
Hell no.
For MGS3?
Hell no.
Okay, because I'm assuming it's game resources. It wouldn't be shaders like MGS4 because PS2 couldn't do this.
Like play session stuff, like where you left items and where you left things that are kind of in the RAM of what you just did.
I don't know it. I don't understand it well enough. I just know what it. Just know what it. I know what happens. I don't know what's going on in the background, and I certainly don't want to speculate and lead people down the wrong path.
Well, I've had a lot of games just run like shit the longer I play them, so that's kind of why I'm at. You know, it makes sense that just there's something that's just filling up, and then you could just restart your console, load right back in, and then you're right where you're good to go.
Memory leak.
So that's what I'm trying to figure out here.
I played that game for like 20 hours on day one, and you know, with the same version open, and I didn't get any memory leak issues or anything like that.
Well, that's good.
You better play FF8 after you finish 7.
And speaking of like loading fast, I mean the menus and the camos and stuff are loading quick as shit. That's definitely a pro here.
Yeah, here's a fun one actually. The fact that the menu opens so fast may open up some new strategies that we previously couldn't use before, and it also makes a strategy that we've been using for a long time that loses a little bit of time is equipping the OSCAM before you do the final section of the game. But it was worth it for the damage reduction to guarantee you would always get Foxhound during bike chase, even if you got the worst RNG. But now, like that strat is like so viable because the menu takes like 2 seconds compared to 9 on the PlayStation 3. So if you pause and unpause the game on PS3 or do anything in the menu, you're talking upwards of like 7 to 9 seconds, and now it's like 1 or 2. The menus, equipping camos, item menus, like it's all so fucking fast. And the one thing I noticed while playing the PC version is, because I stream the game, right? I'll like do something. I'll do the section. I'll do like the phase of a boss, and then I'll look at chat, and then I'll look back at the screen, like say like beating the Shagohod, and then fighting Volgin on top of it. Between that, like that load, I was so used to the amount of time it took that I would look at chat, and now I'm looking at chat too long, and the fight's like already fucking started. Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's a good problem to have, though. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, you're getting faster load times on stuff.
I'm certainly not going to complain about the loads being faster.
Yeah, I mean, the codec lag is in fact gone. Like that's
Thank God.
It was so funny when people were telling me like, "No, you're wrong. They've edited the footage to make it look like that." And I was like, "Shut the fuck up, man." Yeah.
We weren't sure. We were like, I don't know. Actually, shit, it still is there. Uh-oh. So.
I still want to know what was causing that in the first place.
Someone
streaming assets from the disc or something.
I can only tell you what I saw, but someone opened up all the files in the HD collection, and they went to where the codec is stored, like the information for the codec, and it was all just one gigantic file. So it like had to call this file and get the specific section and length that it needed,
the timestamp,
and then bring it back into the game. And you know, I'm not techie, but I can only show you what they were showing me. And they were like,
"No, dude, yeah. If it's that big of a file that's that long, like loading up a hour-long podcast in my computer takes, you know, that's crazy to think about. You know, it's compressed audio, so it'll be quicker. But
yeah, to get a few seconds of it, yeah."
Yeah, that's wild to think about one big ass file being loaded. It's just like it's like basically putting a record on and then going, hold on, let me find exactly where it's at, and dropping the needle exactly where you need to.
Yeah.
Holy shit, that's wild.
It was pretty impressive that it could do that with only a minor lag, because it was only like a few seconds to do all of that.
And now a SSD is just like boom, like get out of here, like found it. Yeah.
Speaking of one big file, it does crack me up. Like the file directory structure of the games. It's almost like they just threw everything in a single file and were like, well, go look for it. I also appreciate that they had a picture of Rykov and Volgin just straight up called homo pic. You know. I literally figured out how to fuck with those files. What is it, CTXR? CTXR files, just so I could get a screenshot of that file called homo pic.
It's honestly dumping them all into single folders like that, and some of this is from the HD collection too, but it's smarter because on the original game there were a lot of redundant files, mostly to help with load times, but it made organization and sorting through it kind of a nightmare. You had to know where everything was, and now it's just, okay, go to the textures folder and mod the thing you want, and it's pretty great. It's that ease of entry is what's drawing a lot of people into modding it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I've dove through that original sound folder too that was ripped from the game files or whatever, and it's just like a bunch of
it's the worst.
It starts with like W204 and then starts the serial number. You're just like, oh Jesus, and then I just load everything into VLC and just let it autoplay, and then I'll hear the thing that I want. I'm like, oh, there it is. Takes about 10 minutes each time, but yeah, no, it's awful. Speaking of things that some people are calling awful, the Delta trailer dropped recently.
Oh God, we haven't even talked about that shit. I feel like we've talked about a whole lifetime. We haven't even gotten to the fucking Delta trailer.
Big Nintendo hire that man energy.
All right, do we want to talk about the piss filter or art direction, or where do we want to go here?
Oh yeah, I do. I just want to say that I wish I could punch whoever came up with the term piss filter, because it's absolutely ruined almost all conversation about color grading.
I know, yeah. It's very reductionist, yeah.
It is it's very reductionist. It's condensed a very eventful period of time in gaming with a very specific art style and direction into like this single phase. Because I'll tell you one thing, I grew up in the 2000s, baby. I still got my new metal shit going on, and I will say
we grew up covered in piss. Like,
I will say the piss filter's reception in 2004 was a lot different than the piss filter's reception in 2008, and there was a lot of shit that happened in between.
Resident Evil 5 came out in 2009. I think that was like peak piss. So
PS3 generation. PS3 360. Yeah.
I mean, everybody was leaning into that color grade, and I remember all the marketing for everything was teal and orange. You know, it's like everybody had this color palette that was kind of there for a reason. But I mean, MGS3, it definitely had, artistic direction and choice behind it. I don't know how much of that look was technical limitations to kind of hide what they're, like with the fog and that type of thing, or how much of it was just deliberate. I don't know if you know more about that, Nitro, with like just MGS3, how it's technically, done, or how much of it more of his art choice.
God, how do I?
Because it seems like now they're just flexing right now, going, here's what we can do without any technical things in our way. Here's if we have to pick an art direction, it's photorealism. Here you go. And that's like everybody's going, oh, immediately this looks worse because it doesn't have that atmospheric, touch to it.
So I saw a fantastic comment on Twitter that I'm just going to read verbatim. It's odd how these remake projects, MGS3, Shadow of the Colossus, etc., seem to come from a belief that the art direction was only ever a trick to mask some kind of design shortcoming versus being deliberate and beautiful in and of itself.
Mm-hmm.
And I could not agree with that more.
Who is that at? Let's give them a shout out.
At RiskSystem_game.
Okay, cool.
Said that, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's basically it. Is that you think that the game, yes, some things are done because of technical limitations, but usually it's because they're trying to get it to look a certain way.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's a goal. It's a byproduct of how they ended up getting there. And that's, like PS2 was, this was a game that was towards the end of that. So they really were like flexing the hardware and trying to get everything out of it. And that's why I asked. I was like, I personally don't know. And I can get how someone just be like, oh yeah, it was just, they put piss all over it. So just the draw distance would be, but whatever. Like I could see the argument just being thrown out there, but I do think it is a beautiful game, and I think it was well made and the art direction is awesome. I love it.
Yeah, I mean,
and then I can see this as another version of it and just a different take. It's Mutant Mayhem. I love my original Ninja Turtles, but Mutant Mayhem was fun too. That's I just see them as two different things for them to try to. And here's the thing: they can throw on these atmospheric things from here until release. This is alpha footage. Like the art direction might not be done. Yeah, well, okay, cool, even more.
Okay,
like it seems like those touches could be made, but those type of effects seems like something you would want to put after the core elements are there, right? I don't know.
I suppose we'll see.
Yeah, maybe they'll lean into it more. I don't know.
All I can judge is what I can see, and what I see looks. If you would have told me it was a fan made project, I would have believed you.
Okay. I mean, yeah, technically impressive. Like, yeah,
because it looks like something. It looks like they just threw in some MGSV style assets into Unreal Engine. That's what it looks like. How long has this been in development?
I don't know.
I don't know. Look, I could.
We got the one trailer for it last, like this past year, actually. Yeah, when Master Collection was launched, Delta came out right then. Yeah.
Maybe it's a pre-alpha thing, but there's this. Look, I've talked about this before, but there's this notion that higher fidelity means better visuals, and I don't agree with that.
Sure.
You've made something with a lot of God, I don't even want to use the word detail. Detail isn't always a positive thing, and I don't even want to say that this looks realistic. It's just high detail. It's you've cranked up the show more stuff button,
Mhm.
or dial, right? Like there's no.
I mean, I think the environments look good. Like the environments and the wildlife look good. Like that's I don't really think anything other than that. The
Sure.
animations are the exact fucking same. I think.
Yeah, some of them are. I think somebody did a comparison, and it's like some are MGSV.
I mean, they're nailing it, like in that regard.
Taken from MGSV,
Yeah.
some are taken from MGS3. If it looks impressive, okay. I care less about something looking impressive than I do about it making me feel something. And I look at this and I feel nothing.
And that's valid. I get that, but like from a gameplay point of view, I'm sitting there going like, that's gonna be fun to sneak around on, on a big screen.
Yeah, I
TV.
guess.
Like that's gonna look pretty. That as a video game, not as art. That's gonna be pretty fun to fuck around in. That'll look dope.
I'll give it a fair shake.
Yeah, I mean that's just where I'm coming at it from. Of like, cool, fun video game. Let's play it. And then you're like, well, this used to be art, and or this is art, and it should be treated as that's. Why I'm just like, sure, that's still a thing, but I'm gonna have fun and try this out. Survive. I'm gonna have fun and try this out real quick. I'll be back. Like
Snake looks weird, man.
Snake looks weird. I'll give you that. There's an uncanny valley with Snake's face that I can't really identify, but I think Days and Apache like how he looks. They like parts of it, I guess.
Very, very attractive. But I think for me, my enjoyment out of remakes, aside from this gameplay is awesome, or I love how they. I love how this shoots or whatever the fuck, is that, I want to see what's the reason for this? Like, is there a statement that you want to make with this iteration of this story, or, this iteration of this gameplay concept? And I'm in the same boat where, we're not, I haven't seen enough to make a final judgment, but it doesn't seem like they're really saying anything other than let's get this IP back going, baby. And that's just not where I've been deriving fun from, like remakes, just from my own personal experience. But yeah.
It does seem like they're cranking it back up again. That was a good turn. Like, now we have David Hayter doing the ad reads where it's this Metal Gear Solid series promo. And it's like, wait, was this for the Master Collection, or was this to get people just kind of briefed on what Metal Gear is? And yeah, they're swinging wide. I mean, they even had DJ a set on their YouTube channel and on their Twitch. I mean, they're trying to get this back going, and I think they're tapping in to as many people as they can. And they're like, with the other music track that just came out with them, like they're trying, but some of the hits are definitely not landing.
The one thing they need more than anything is the one thing they will absolutely not do, which is put a single person in charge of the vision for the series. They need somebody to unify it, because right now everything feels like a committee decision. Yeah,
it feels like inconsistent, kind of like wild swings right now, where they're kind of throwing everything at the wall. Like there's TikToks, there's an Instagram filter where you can get a codec. There's all these different elements. They have the little anime. It's like they're casting a huge net right now, just trying to draw in more people to come check it out, because this is only the beginning as Snakes. You know what I mean? It's like it seems like they're gearing up for more stuff. I don't know. And Volume 2, I'm calling something Volume 1. There's probably gonna be a Volume 2, so we're gonna be here for a few years, I think.
I love people like making the point that, well, it's called Volume 1, so.
But where the fuck is Twin Snakes?
Maybe that means there's a Volume 2. Like congratulations, you can count. Yes, obviously there's going to be a Volume 2.
It's like Attack on Titan Part 1. They're gonna come back and finish it. Like,
are they gonna do a Part 2? Like, oh my gosh, man!
I just want to say that I don't particularly care for the idea of Metal Gear Solid 5 gameplay within Metal Gear Solid 3, and I think it's highly manipulative of Konami to make Snake attractive in order to get me on board with the game.
I don't know, man. I had fun in those couple of sections in MGSV in Africa, like when it was like really dense jungle. Like those sections were hard, like that. And then there was like the big, like swatted up dudes with like the body armor and stuff. Like that was probably one of the harder sections to kind of maneuver around.
Sure, but the problem is they're not changing the level structure. It's going to be higher detail.
Yeah, this is going to be a twin snakes situation where you're breaking MGS1 by using MGS2 mechanics. Now we got quick dive and fucking Snake Eater now, so it's just everything's moot. I get it, yeah.
Yeah, so if you can counterbalance that with the addition of things like, get rid of the loading zones between areas, for example, or make the survival viewer real time. That can sort of counterbalance it. But these,
yeah,
I don't know,
dude. I just want to say that we called if they ever did a remake of Snake Eater, that the cure menu would be on a wheel, and we said that during a Metal Gear Survive stream.
Yeah.
And I said that would be dope because Survive did it and it worked really well. And I was like, imagine if they did this in Snake Eater. If they do it that way, I'm gonna be happy because I think that would work a lot better for certain things.
I think the game could be good, but it's not the direction I would go in with it. And I think if you're going to keep all the level design structure the same, I think if you're going to keep all the layouts of the guards and things the same, you're going to make the game far too easy. And Metal Gear Solid 3 is already quite a lot easier than 2.
Yeah,
it's a half measure. They're trying to split the difference between, do we want to remake it and lean into these all new ideas, or do we want to be safe and stick with the old one? And they're trying to to hit right down the middle.
Yeah.
And what they're going to get is something very uninteresting.
It's what I've said from the start as well, is like that's the worst option of all the things that they could do.
It's going to piss off everybody. Yeah.
Of all the things they could do, it's the worst option.
Yeah, you need to go either totally faithful or just go crazy with it.
Yeah. Dude,
I wish they were going crazy with it.
Same. Do something different, because even if you got it completely wrong, I would fucking respect you for not trying to just riff off what came before.
Right.
That's what they did with Survive. Well, no, that's not on a remake, though. I see what you're saying.
There's other things going on with Survive, and we're still seeing some leftover sentiment from that time. And I implore people to move on with their fucking lives.
Yeah,
everybody's got an axe to grind, and that's why the conversation around the Master Collection is very difficult to keep nuanced and factual, because it's obvious that a lot of the ire directed towards it isn't necessarily about the collection, but it's more just people who are still upset with Konami.
And it's about company practices that happened 8 years ago. And like, things have changed. They even put out the report today that and all these people getting laid off and stuff. And we were just talking about like letting go of talent and just keeping in the lower people. Like, they're giving raises to a lot of their devs and trying to at least hold on to people that they have. So, I mean, that's a good move to see on their part, where they're trying to, not just do a mass layoff situation, because that would definitely shake things up even more with all this shit.
They're still very closed off, though. People don't really know what they're doing, and there's not a lot of communication. It comes off like it comes off like a bribe,
Mm-hmm.
That's sort of the feel I get for it. It's like, look, MGS3 remake, Silent Hill 2 remake, Metal Gear Collection. These are the things you want. Please stop hating us. And what's going to do it is not just dangling shiny things in front of our face. What's going to do it is open communication and a commitment to trying to do things in a better way. And I think a good step in that direction would be addressing all of the bugs and issues that people have with the Master Collection. They do that. That's going to do a lot.
That's what we need to, we really need to focus on Master Collection, fix that damn audio. We need to protect people's ears out here.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that need working on. Nigel, real quick, when you watched the MGS3 footage with the tint and the bloom added, did you feel anything? Or was it still just nothing there?
With the what?
Someone made a version with the sepia tint and and added some bloom to it all. And they're like,
oh yeah, that was I didn't see the footage. I saw some screenshots. That was
there's footage of it. And I was saying, did that help you, or what, or did that still not really do it, just because it's technically does, it looks kind of like a YouTuber would do it or something?
Well, that was the one that Jose Molines did, right? Yeah, that was him.
Okay.
Yeah, that helped a little bit.
That's what I'm saying. If they implemented those changes to it, would you kind of be more satisfied, or is it just seeing it clear as day, just going oh man, I hate that.
Yeah, I don't like it clear as day. It's like,
okay.
And again, pre-alpha, maybe that'll change. That's one aspect to it. Look, I realize I'm like old man yelling at cloud here. I get it, But you know my position on remakes in general.
Yeah, you want it to match that aesthetic that it originally created, and
I mean,
like,
yes,
the mood. Like, that's
it's
a big
not
part
that.
of it
It's
for
not.
you.
It's not just that. It's more like when I see this stuff, when I see these remake projects, it's the implication is that there is something wrong with the original that needs to be fixed.
Not for me at all. I completely disagree with that, but I can see that argument. But go ahead.
I would disagree with it in cases where they go a radically different direction, but when they're just trying to do it verbatim, why are you doing it if other than to say, look, here's a better version of the thing that you thought was great? And I don't think it's better. I think it takes something away from it.
Yeah. Well, that's the argument is just you've got that original thing right there. Let these other people take their creative takes on it.
I'm not stopping anybody from doing anything. I'm just criticizing something I don't like. You know, it's this let people have fun argument is such bullshit. Like, no, I'm going to criticize the thing. If you don't like my criticism, ignore it and go play the thing. I'm not stopping you. I ain't the Metal Gear police. You can do whatever the hell you want.
And that's been my big argument too. It's like, cool, go listen to the original, go check out the other thing. Like, it's fine. But yeah, if you want to come in and say, oh, this thing is not better or it's worse than the original, it's just like, okay. Like, I don't know.
I think it's a poor mindset. I think it's very anti-art.
It's unnuanced too. I mean, just going in from that perspective, just like, oh, it's not the same, or oh, this is the same exactly. You know, what the hell are we doing here?
If we're gonna pretend like games are art, then can we at least pretend to stop? You know, pretend like we're not treating them like products. You know, I mean, I don't know.
I would rather treat them like games more than art, but
that's not a good way of putting it. That's a poor way of wording it. Like, that whole conversation is just a rabbit hole. But yeah, I don't know. I
think the big point is to say that those artistic choices were done deliberately. You know, they added to the game, and now seeing those stripped away, you know, kind of hurts. And like you said, it's part of that formula that kind of brings you to Metal Gear. Like, that's what you're there for, you know?
Yeah. You know, give your imagination some work. Watch a movie in black and white. See a foreign film with subtitles. You know, put some effort in.
Speaking of watching porn with subtitles,
that is not what I said.
So to recap, this is pretty much, as Days has kind of broken down for us here, this the Metal Gear fandom and the Swifties are kind of going through it in the same way.
Oh,
it's
it's kind of interesting watching them kind of both praise and scrutinize 1989 Taylor's version. And then we're dealing with our own thing on the other side with our master collection. I saw a post where somebody was breaking down, you know, some of the nuanced production. I don't want to say mistakes. I don't want like pop heads to sick on me.
Choices, yeah.
Yeah, where you know some things, you know, it just doesn't have the same oomph or what made the song magical or whatnot. Mm-hmm. So for those who don't know, which I don't know the overlap between Swifties and Metal Gear fans, is that Taylor Swift, from my very little understanding, is she doesn't own her masters of her original songs. Things like 1989 or 1989 Red, all those albums. She doesn't get, you know, the benefits that she rightfully would deserve for making those songs. So
the 200% royalties, yeah.
One thing that she did was she's been redoing her albums called Taylor's version. And fans have been listening to them in support, like say, hey, you know, if you listen to this version, Taylor gets your money, not the greedy execs. And, you know, overall, it seems like there's been pretty good reception for, you know, the releases so far. I've just noticed a lot of feedback for some of the tracks within 1989. I don't expect anybody to know what I'm talking about at this point, but ones in particular that were pointed out were, I think the style and some of the stylistic choices in style, in addition to some of the bombastic production choices that aren't as bombastic in the new version of like Shake It Off, for example. I know I don't like the new version of Blank Space. I feel like kind of evil because I'm playing the Master Collection and I'm listening to the old 1989. I feel like I've got like the darkest timeline here. But to see sort of these two fandoms in parallel dealing with these like releases and kind of the scrutiny and, you know, which version do you play? Don't listen to this version, or you're supporting this the wrong people if you support this version. It's kind of been blowing my mind, on top of, you know, the Ascension discourse, which last week the Ascension discourse was about fucking a vampire. Now it's about Silent Hill. So my mind is just at 8 different places.
Yeah, it's so crazy. It's all about comparing something to how you listen to it, and how, you know, they've listened to that song, you know, thousands of times, and then you hear it now with a louder hi-hat, and you're like, wait a minute, that's not how it was. And, you know, it might have needed that clarity in the high end, but just you're not used to that, how it originally sounded, so it's wrong and it's bad, you know. But there might be some upgrades to the mixes in general in the other recordings that they might sound a little better, but the original didn't have the punch. But yeah, it's this comparative thing. That's where I see a lot of the lines with the Metal Gear stuff, where now in Metal Gear Solid 3 we've got this overcompressed, you know, non-dynamic ass mix that's loud as fuck, and it, you know, it's not fun to listen to. Every Metal Gear version of every game that's come out has had its own shit that's wrong with it. And so you kind of have to pick and choose which things matter to you going forward. So if load times are like your number one bane, like, yeah, cool, PS5 version. But if audio bothers you, then I don't know, you might want to go down to a different version. Like, there's all these different things are going to matter to different people. So I think for the casual person, this is 7 games on 5 platforms that they can play start to finish, and that'll be just fine. But for us,
for me, it's skateboarding.
60 FPS, Snake versus Monkey, fucking do it.
Yeah, give it time.
I just really want that audio reverb shit fixed. That's what's really bothering me. I'm just like, ugh, that's my big gripe. But yeah, if everybody gets one thing to get fixed here, or a hypothetical, Days, what would you get fixed?
Yeah, probably also the audio issues.
Yeah, it's a big.
Yeah,
fix the audio, Konami. We'll check it out here soon.
What about you, Apache?
I would say the Xbox control scheme that's on the game. I think there was a better way to implement a control scheme with no pressure sensitivity that wouldn't have had so many people upset about it. And I think just a little bit more care and thought going into that, it could have made an overall much better product. And I think other things that people are complaining about are really just offshoots of the game not feeling like the game they've played before. Like, I just wish they'd asked people in the community to have a look at the game, and we would have told them that, and it wouldn't have been difficult to fix.
Hopefully they get to it, and we'll be getting that list together to submit here soon. Pay attention to Nitroid and Daze's socials for details on that if you want to contribute to fixing Master Collection Volume 1 for free. Okay.
Oh, God.